Welcome back to Talking Elvis. This is my little space on YouTube where I get to talk about my favourite subject and discuss anything and everything to do with Elvis Presley. I thought today we could look at the TCB Band. They deserve a video, right? Elvis called them the backbone to his whole show. They were formed in 1969 for Elvis's July 31st opening night in Las Vegas. We'll go through them individually just as Elvis would introduce them.
On the lead guitar is James Burton.
James Edward Burton was born on the 21st of August 1939 in Dubberly, Louisiana, although Elvis would introduce him as being from Shreveport. James Burton is a self-taught guitarist. He began playing during childhood. In the mid-1950s, he was hired as a staff band member for the popular Louisiana Hayride, which came from Shreveport. It was while he was there in 1957 where he played the guitar on the Dale Hawkins song Susie Q. Now, James Burton has said that he actually wrote the medley of the song, but once lyrics were added to it, he was never given any credits, and to this day has never received any royalty. The song was actually recorded at the KWKH radio station. James Burton was 17 years old at the time. The song did become a hit. It was number 11 in the Billboard chart. Perhaps the most famous recording of the song is from 1968. It turned out to be the first hit for Creedence Clearwater Revival. Elvis sang it on the 20th of July 1975 in Norfolk, Virginia. While still a teenager, he left Shreveport and headed to Los Angeles, where he became a band member, a guitar player for Ricky Nelson. That is most likely where Elvis first saw him. As well as playing with Ricky Nelson, he had numerous studio sessions. He soon became quite sought after due to his famous chicken picking style, they call it. James Burton has consistently said that he got a call from Elvis in 1969 and he was asked to put a band together. I think it quite unlikely that he got a call directly from Elvis, more likely to be somebody like Charlie Hodge, but put a band together he did. And if there is a leader of the TCB Band, it is James Burton. From the 31st of July 1969 until the 26th of June 1977, James Burton never missed an Elvis show. Along with John Wilkinson, they played every concert. Inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001, he is also in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame, the Musicians Hall of Fame, and most recently in 2024, the Country Music Hall of Fame. You'll have heard me say this when we've been looking at some of Elvis's live albums, that perhaps being so focused on Elvis growing up as a fan and really just focusing on Elvis, I perhaps never realized how good a guitar player James Burton actually is. He consistently plays under Elvis, but he shines when he needs to. I'm always surprised that when you watch or hear somebody talking about guitar players, James Burton's name never really comes up. But if you speak to musicians or hear from musicians like Keith Richards, they will say that James Burton is an outstanding guitar player. He is given a lot of credit in the industry. He has played with a lot of people, Ricky Nelson, then Elvis, but also Emmylou Harris, Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash, Glenn Campbell, John Denver, even Suzi Quatro. We see James Burton here on Hello Mary Lou. The song was written by Gene Pitney. The song got to number 2 in the UK and number 9 in the US. He's 21 years old at that time. Regardless of how he was introduced to Elvis, he was without question an essential part of Elvis's sound in the 1970s. James is now 86 years old.
Rhythm guitar, John Wilkinson.
John Richard Wilkinson was born on the 3rd of July 1945 in Springfield, Missouri. He enjoyed music ever since he was young and became encouraged to learn the guitar after being asked to do so by his music teacher at school. He would continue to practice into adulthood. On the 17th of May 1956, Wilkinson heard that Elvis was in town. He asked his parents if he could go to the show. They said no, because his music was too lewd. However, his parents were leaving for a trip to the lake, so on his bicycle he went down to see Elvis. Now, there is this story that he manages to sneak backstage. He meets Elvis and he tells him that his guitar playing is not worth a damn. It's a story Wilkinson often recited. Following his high school graduation, he leaves Missouri and heads to Los Angeles to pursue a career as a musician. He played with several folk bands. In fact, he would do any gig that he could get. He played for a while with the Kingston Trio. Anything that he could do to pursue this passion. One evening, he received a call from a manager of a club who said that the band who were supposed to be supporting Jefferson Airplane had cancelled and wondered if he could get him and his friends together to come and support. He did that, and he often said that that day changed his life. John Wilkinson did receive a call from James Burton, James saying that he was putting a band together for Elvis. He went along for the audition, for lack of better words, which took place at RCA Studios in Los Angeles. And from that day onwards until the end of Elvis's life, John Wilkinson was Elvis's rhythm guitar player. In 1989, he suffered a stroke, which left him paralysed down the left side. And there was a real sadness with him that he could no longer play the guitar. Unfortunately, he also struggled with cancer, and he died on the 11th of January 2013. He was 67 years old.
In the early morning rain, with a dollar in my hand and aching in my heart, and my pockets full of sand.
The most prominent recordings we have of John Wilkinson with Elvis is Early Morning Rain. Rolling Stone magazine cited him as a dedicated guitarist who was part of the backbone to Elvis's live performances.
On the drums is Ronnie Tutt.
Ronald Ellis Tutt was born in Dallas, Texas on the 12th of March 1938. In interviews that I have watched or heard, he says that he started about the age of 3. Rhythmically, he said he was a dancer. His mother, in fact, put him into dancing classes. For him, it was always about the rhythm. He soon started to learn to play instruments, the ukulele being the first. He moved on to guitar, to violin, and even playing the trumpet into senior high school. When he was 17 years old, he switched over to drums. After finishing high school, he attended the University of North Texas, where he studied music. In 1959, he set off to pursue his drumming career. As in with John Wilkinson, Ronnie Tutt says that he was contacted directly by James Burton as Elvis was putting a band together for live performances. He flew into Los Angeles with his drum kit and got it all set up to go. While he was waiting to be called for his turn, another drummer just strolled onto the stage and sat behind his kit. His name was Gene Pello, and by all accounts, Elvis was happy. Following a suggestion from James to try one more guy, Ronnie Tutt took his turn. Elvis hired him that day. He said all these other drummers were good, but they were all doing their own thing. But you were watching me the whole time. And that's exactly how it would remain. There were a few occasions throughout the years where Ronnie Tutt did not perform with Elvis due to conflicting dates, no other reason. He would often work with other musicians as a session player, and he was a full-time drummer for Neil Diamond at that time as well. He would miss Elvis's final show in Indianapolis. Not only was he Elvis's principal drummer, he was also the same for Roy Orbison, for the Carpenters, for Neil Diamond, Jerry Garcia, and he played drums on Billy Joel's first 2 albums. If you get a chance and if you follow social media, this guy here, Trent Owen, is a big fan of Ronnie Tutt. And when you see this guy play, you realize just how good Ronnie Tutt is.
Baby, get closer. The lights are going dim. The sound of the breathing make the mood I'm in. All of my resistance lying on the floor, taking me to places I've never been before. Ooh, and I can feel way down where the music plays, way down like a tidal wave, way down with the fireplace, way down.
I think he's incredibly underrated. People talk about Keith Moon and even Ringo Starr, but Ronnie Tutt is just absolute class. Ronnie Tutt was married 2 times. He had 9 children. With all the tours that he did with Elvis and everybody else, you wonder where he found the time. Sadly, he did pass away at his home in Franklin, Tennessee. He was 83 years old.
On the Fender bass, Jerry Scheff.
Jerry Auburn Scheff was born on the 31st of January, 1941. Although Elvis would say from up in Canada, he is from California, I believe the San Francisco Bay area, and he was born in a place called Vallejo. While Jerry Scheff did like rhythm and blues, his background was jazz. Jazz was really his thing. As a high school senior, he joined the US Navy, and he wound up at the Navy's School of Music in Washington, D.C. After serving in the US Navy, he returned to California, to Los Angeles, where he became a session player. This was due to the success he was having playing live as a band member at the Sands nightclub. In 1966, he played on his first hit record for a band called The Association and a song called Along Came Mary. He worked with Johnny Mathis, Nancy Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Bobby Vinton, the Everly Brothers, Barbra Streisand, Linda Ronstadt. He also played on The Doors' final album, L.A. Woman, playing bass on almost every song. He did work with James Burton previously, and James remembered him. He was invited to join the auditions at the RCA studio in LA. He says it himself that he was never a big fan of Elvis until that day, but he says that it was so relaxed. Elvis was so friendly, so smiley, always laughing, and he was blown away by Elvis's singing. He in fact went home and said to his wife, "You got to come tomorrow and hear this guy." She said, "You got to be kidding, right?" Jerry Scheff would leave the band a few times, and it's always cited as creative differences. And while he's very prominent on Polk Salad Annie, some of the songs that feature the heaviest bass for Elvis, Fairy Tale, If You Talk in Your Sleep, spring to mind, Burning Love, he didn't play any of these songs. He did write Fire Down Below. The band put the track down at the Jungle Room sessions in 1976. So we must assume it was a song which was approved and Elvis was going to sing. Unfortunately, Elvis never did get his vocals down on the song. After Elvis, Jerry Scheff would play with Crowded House, Bob Dylan, John Denver, Roy Orbison, and even Dennis Roussos. If you've seen the black and white Roy Orbison show, Jerry Scheff is playing bass and Ronnie Tutt is on the drums. Jerry Scheff is 85 years old. I believe he's back living in the US somewhere, but for quite a long time he was living in the Scottish borders. So that's Tutt and that's Scheff. That's Tutt Scheff, any way you look at it.
And the piano is Glenn Hardin.
Glenn D. Hardin was born on the 18th of April, 1939 in Wellington, Texas. Elvis always says Lubbock. I assume it's close. After leaving school, he joined the Navy. And after getting out in 1959, he began to pursue his music career in Long Beach, California, soon joining as a resident piano player at the Palomino Club in West Hollywood. It was a popular hangout for people, artists like Mel Haggart, Jerry Lee Lewis, and it would feature such artists as Johnny Cash, Linda Ronstadt, and Willie Nelson. His musical career really took off in 1962 when he became a member of the Crickets, formerly Buddy Holly and the Crickets. He had been longtime friends since childhood, in fact, with Jerry Allison, the drummer. Shortly after that, he joined Shindig, which was an American variety show. I think the band were called the Shin Dogs. That show aired on ABC from 1964 to 1966. In 1965, he found his first success as a songwriter. He wrote the song Count Me In, which was performed by Gary Lewis and the Playboys. In fact, they performed it on the Ed Sullivan Show. The piano player for Elvis's July 1969 engagement was Larry Mahobarak. There was talk of Elvis perhaps going on tour. Mahobarak didn't want to do that. Glenn Hardin was called and he became a member of the TCB Band until he left in 1976. He arranged several songs for Elvis, most notably The Wonder of You, but also Let It Be Me and Just Can't Help Believing. After Elvis, he would go on to play piano for Roy Orbison, Emmylou Harris, and also for a short time with Ricky Nelson. Glenn Hardin is 86 years old. Maybe Elvis himself is just too big, but I always do feel as individual musicians, they don't really get the recognition that they deserve. By late 1971 into 1972, they were just incredible on stage with Elvis. And they were indeed the backbone to his whole show. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.